I'm the magic. I am the secret sauce. Just like you are the magic. You are the secret sauce. You cannot be duplicated. You are the only person in this world with your own unique set of experiences and expertise and knowledge and feelings, all that. You are one of one. So you just got to basically be comfortable in the way you're shining. So it's just a matter of harnessing however you shine and turning it into magic. So in order for you to grow as a person, you got to see all the challenges, all the failures, all of that stuff as shit. You can't get to success without going through shit. And if you got to success without going through shit, the shit's coming. No, it's coming. It'll come one way or the other. Hi, my name is Vivian Kaye, and you're listening to Dreams in Drive.
Summer's here, and you know staying hydrated should be one of your biggest priorities. That's why Smart Water is always on my list. As a busy mom and always on the go, I love how easy it is to hold Smart Water and how it is just the right accessory for my daily outfits. With days in mind that usually involve a lot of overthinking, Smart Water provides a refreshing change of pace and allows me not to have to think too much. Plus, the taste is great too. Smart Water has this pure, crisp taste with added electrolytes, and I love it. Life's full of choices. Smart Water is a simple one. Visit drinksmartwater.com to learn more. You know real when you get it. It'll say eBay Authenticity Guarantee, and you'll feel it. Maybe it's a head-turning handbag, a watch that says it all, jewelry that makes you look like the gem, sneakers and streetwear so fresh every step feels fly. eBay gets it. So look for the blue check mark next to that thing you love. And be confident that every inch, stitch, sole, and logo is checked by experts. With eBay Authenticity Guarantee, you can trust that feeling of real is always in reach. Ensure your next purchase is the real deal. Visit ebay.com for terms. Today, our guest is Vivian Kaye. So, all right, a lot of us are always wondering, what is the secret to success? And you know what? It may not be as hard as you think. This week, we're going to hear from entrepreneur, business expert, and media personality Vivian Kaye, and she's going to be sharing her dream driving journey and the one thing you need to be aware of in order to put your dreams in drive. Vivian is going to share how, as the founder of KinkyCurlyYaki, which has now been acquired, a premium textured hair extension brand for Black women, how she was able to bootstrap the business to over $6 million in revenue as an immigrant, college dropout, and single mom. Through her magnetic energy, Vivian's going to be sharing empowering words of wisdom, her uplifting moments, and also going to be educating us about the real aspects of the dream driving life. Some of the things we talk about in this episode include how she found a niche and accidentally stepped into entrepreneurship, why it's so important to solve real problems, right? Not the problems you think people have, but real problems. Why it's okay to say bye to a dream. And we're going to be talking about the importance of trusting your intuition and why relying on motivation alone is not it, and what you can be doing instead. If this is your first time listening, make sure you're following us across the social medias. You can find us at Dreams and Drive, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And make sure you're also part of our email newsletter, The Keys, and get weekly email updates delivered right to your inbox. Just go to dreamsanddrive.com/join. That's dreamsanddrive.com/join to sign up. All right, let's hear from Vivian.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I am so excited, as a Black girl who loves her hair, right, and who loves to just experiment. Your brand, KinkyCurlyYaki, has been one that's always been on my radar. So just being able to have you in the seat today is such an honor to hear more about your story.
Oh, well, I'm excited to be here.
So I love to start all our interviews going back in time, right? I really feel like it's important to reflect on who we were as children in order to get a better sense of who we were or who we are today. So Vivian, tell me, who was the 7-year-old Vivian, and what was inspiring you as a child?
Ooh, 7-year-old Vivian. Let's see. We got to go back like 42 years or something. No, I'm not 40. Wait, I don't know how old I am. I'm 45. So 38 years ago, I guess. We got to go back to figure out 7-year-old Vivian. Well, 7-year-old Vivian was a rambunctious little girl. I was one of 4 girls, and I was number 2. And I thought, being a girl was the pits. So I liked being, I not pretended, but, I was a tomboy, back then, as a tomboy. And so I thought I could do everything. I was climbing things in dresses and, telling the boys off and not letting anyone tell me what to do besides my mother. But, as a child, I would say, my inspiration was, I actually looked within myself for a lot of inspiration, because it's not like, back in the 80s, I didn't see a lot of me, right? So I lived in a predominantly white community, and on TV, that's mostly what you would see. So I've always sort of marched to the beat of my own drum, and that carried on into adolescence and, of course, into adulthood. So what inspired me? I would say myself.
It might be hard to think back, right?
Yeah.
And you also are of Ghanaian heritage, right? You were born in Ghana.
Yes.
You moved to Canada. And I had this question, and maybe it might, I don't know if it's an easy question to answer, but how do you think life would have been different if your parents had moved to the States? Or if you guys moved to the States instead of Canada, right?
That is an interesting question. If I was an American Vivian, you know what? I think, and this is going to sound, and not because I'm not grateful for what the success that I've already achieved within Canada, but I think I would have been more successful. I think I would have been more successful.
Now, or do you mean like along the journey?
Now. Okay. Right? I think I would have been more successful because I think what African Americans have had a really good what they've done really well is really fought for themselves and fought for opportunities. And so you have access to a lot of opportunities and networks that first generation immigrants don't necessarily have. So, you've had time to sort of build up those networks and resources and that sort of thing. And Canada, not so much, just because a lot of us are first and second generation immigrants, right? And it's just now that they're recognizing, maybe, these immigrants need some help in order to access the same success that we've had. And so African Americans have done a really good job at making their needs known. And it's not that, I'm trying to figure out how to say this without offending anyone, but you deserve it.
Yeah.
Right. And if I was in the United States, as a Black woman, I would probably be able to take advantage of that because of the work that the people who have been there have created. Right. And so yeah, I would think that I would be more successful because I would have access to more funding, more networks. I probably would have gone to an HBCU, and so I would have been more successful. That's an interesting question. That's the first time I've answered.
I just was thinking about it. I was listening to a podcast you had done. I think you were just talking about growing up in Canada and just some of the things that were, that you experienced. And, my parents are Jamaican, so I'm first generation Jamaican, born in America though, and just sort of had this unique experience. But I've also, they probably had this where you are, maybe not. Like, I grew up in a very like the New York City, New Jersey area. Yeah. So it's very like, African Americans are probably like the minorities because it's a very, Caribbean American culture here in my, my community. So it's just something that I was thinking about.
But you've probably also taken advantage of the headway that African Americans have made. So many
resources as well. And then my parents came here in their college years, so they kind of understood how to navigate the collegial system a little bit. Yeah. And so they kind of made sure that my sister and I were on part of, to knew how to take advantage or knew how to look out for resources or know there are resources, and also not use our skin color as a way, like, it's not going to set you back. If anything, That's a leverage point for you and everything. So never use
absolutely.
your experiences or how you may look as a way to not be able to get ahead. But I want to ask you this too, because it's always interesting. I found this paper from when I was a younger kid that said I wanted to be a doctor when I grew up, and all this other, I want to save the world and be married and all this stuff. And it was just interesting to read that. But for you, what was that little Vivian's dream?
You know what? I had no clue.
Mm-hmm.
I always like to say, when I was younger, I used to say that people used to try and put me into a box, right? And it's funny when, actually earlier you referred to my voice and said how my voice sounds so smooth and so clear. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times people thought I would become like a radio person or a TV personality. And anytime anyone said that, I was like, it's not quite it. It wasn't quite it, right? And I actually went on to, when I went to post-secondary, I went on to study anthropology, like social anthropology. So the study of people, right? And so I've always been a people person. I've always had this voice. I've always sounded, very sexy.
I can't imagine you as like a 10-year-old. Hello, my name is Vivian Kaye.
Well, the voice came more in my high school years, right? So, but you know what? Honestly, I had no idea what I was going to be. I even remember when I was graduating from high school, I won an award called the Change Your Future Award. All my friends were winning math and science awards and, all these, really distinct awards. And mine was just Change Your Future. And it was like, well, what the heck does that even mean? Right. But it's as if they saw something in me, but they couldn't quite pinpoint what it was. So I always say people try to put me in a box, but I'm a parallelogram. Right. So it's like, you don't know, right. But you don't know, you don't know what a parallelogram looks like, but it doesn't fit inside a box. Right.
Yeah.
And so for me, I had no idea what I was going to be, but being an entrepreneur made sense. Like when it finally clicked, it made sense. It's like, well, that's why I couldn't pinpoint what it was, because in school, they don't teach you about entrepreneurship. Back when I was in school, being an entrepreneur was for people who couldn't get jobs. Right. So it wasn't something as sexy or as, luxurious as it looks now. And so, but had I known, I probably would have dipped into it earlier.
So you mentioned when it finally clicked. And I love that, because I think for many of us, we go through that moment, right, where you're doing something and you're trying to buckle the seatbelt and it's like, it's not fitting, but you can't figure out why. Mm-hmm. Tell us about the before the click moment, right? Like, what was life for you like? How were you navigating trying to find what would click for you?
So at the time I didn't know I was trying to find what would click for me. I just kept trying on different dresses, as my mom likes to say. She doesn't talk about shoes. She talks about dresses. So I was just trying on different dresses. So, I went to a bilingual, so I did French immersion from like grade 6 all the way to the end of high school. So I used that to my advantage. So I was able to get bilingual jobs that I had no business having, because I was bilingual, right? So you had
the business having it. You deserved it, okay?
I deserved it. Absolutely. I didn't have the qualifications, right? But because I had that one requirement that they were in need of, it gave me a leg up on, a bunch of other candidates, right? And so I would say, taking advantage of that. Right. So getting me into positions that I, quote unquote, had no business being in. But it turns out it sort of created the foundation for entrepreneurism for me. Right. So I started out working in call centers, and then I ended up working as a marketing coordinator for a big fintech company. And at the time, it wasn't called fintech. It was just this new technology that was happening. Yeah, it was just a company that had this new technology that the banks were creating. And then I went on to work for another, a startup. And at the time, it wasn't called a startup. It was just a guy that had this idea and he wanted to make it into a business. So that was a med tech. So they were creating a solution for doctors with Blackberries. Yeah, that's how old I am. Blackberry.
I had a Blackberry.
Yeah. Those things were hot. But but that was early med tech. And what I found was I was one person departments in the last 3 positions that I had. So I was the Jackie of all trades. and it made sense for me. And it worked for me. I was able to work independently and, execute ideas, strategize, doing all, like, going from A to Z as a one person marketing department. And it just fit. Right. And so what I was able to do is when I started a side hustle, I took everything that I learned in my 9 to 5 and I applied it to my own business, and it clicked.
Why did you start the side hustle? Was it a financial need, or was it, I'm kind of bored doing this stuff?
I would say I started the side hustle because I saw a gap.
Okay.
Like, I saw a gap in the market that I thought, oh, well, I mean, it couldn't possibly be that hard to fill it. Let's see if I can fill it. Because I'm very much the type of person who sort of, I'll jump off a cliff with a parachute and figure out the parachute on my way down. I don't read instructions. I just figure it out.
You're one of those people. You don't mean
No, I do not read the instructions. It could work 2 ways.
Either it takes you a long time, or you figure out how to do it even better. Like, you didn't even really need instructions. Yeah. But
what I find is sometimes if you don't read the instructions, you learn about whatever it is better. And then when you go back and read the instructions, it's like, oh, well, that makes sense. And that helped me figure it. That clicked. Now, I'm finding the missing pieces of the puzzle. But I'm also one of those people who see a puzzle and just I pull in the pieces that make sense, put it together, and then fill in the gaps. Right. But yeah, so I saw a gap. And I'm very observant, I guess you could say. So I always look at things and it's like, how could that be better? How could it be cheaper? How could it be sexier? How could it be better? What can I do differently that would make this stand out? And so for me, it wasn't even a personal problem that I had. It was a problem that I saw in the market or the niche itself, which was wedding decor. Right. So my older sister was getting married. She needed a decorator. And so this was a decorator that she hired within the Ghanaian community. Right. And so this decorator said, I'll do all your decor for, say, $2,000. So if she agreed, she pays a deposit. But the decorator didn't tell her exactly what she was doing for $2,000. She just said she was decorating for $2,000. So like a week before the wedding, the decorator comes back and says, I need another $1,000. But she doesn't indicate why. Like, she doesn't line item everything as to why she needs an additional $1,000. My sister can't afford it. So then she decides she needs to hire another decorator. And that decorator did a craptastic job. So then I thought, well, this can't be that complicated. There's no one within our community that doesn't like white people, right? Line item everything. Like, this is what you're paying for. This is how much it costs. This is how much your deposit is. This is how much you need to pay me before I come and do your wedding. So I was like, let me be that person. And so I did that. And of course, I quickly outgrew the Ghanaian community and ended up just serving just the community of brides who wanted simple yet fabulous weddings. Right. And I also niched down, which was before I actually understood what niching meant, which was I did a very specific thing. So I didn't do wedding planning. I didn't do flowers. I just did decor. So I would do your backdrop, your head table, and your cake table. That's all I did. And
that is so smart. And it's like, you knew what you had to deliver, right? You weren't overpromising. You weren't saying I'm about to book the entertainment, guest management.
No.
Okay.
You know why? Because I don't like unnecessary drama or complications. So I knew, and after witnessing my sister's wedding and seeing all the moving parts, and it's like, you know what, if I can just perfect this one part and make the bride, and to me, outside of the ceremony and the dress, this is probably the most important thing about her wedding. This is what people are going to remember. So if I can help her not spend a whole mortgage payment or a whole mortgage down payment rather on her decor and make it simple but fabulous, because the last wedding you went to, you probably didn't even remember what it looked like. You just remembered it was pretty.
Yeah.
And that's the impression I wanted to have. That.
Floral.
Flowers. That's it. That's it. Okay, the flowers were pretty, but you don't care, like, whether she'd spent, $25 per centerpiece or $125 per centerpiece, it didn't make that big of an impression on you for you to be like, oh, she spent a grip. Okay, so what? She spent a grip. Now what? That's now you're broke as a bride, right? So I was helping the brides, make the most impact with the least amount of money to do that, right? And so again, it was all about finding the gap. And in every single business that I've started, it's always about solving a real problem.
You'll know real when you get it. It'll say eBay Authenticity Guarantee, and you'll feel it. Maybe it's a head-turning handbag, a watch that says it all, jewelry that makes you look like the gem, sneakers and streetwear so fresh every step feels fly. eBay gets it. So look for the blue check mark next to that thing you love and be confident that every inch, stitch, sole, and logo is checked by experts. With eBay Authenticity Guarantee, you can trust that feeling of real is always in reach. Ensure your next purchase is the real deal. Visit eBay.com for terms. Hey dream drivers, if you're like me, you know the struggle of dealing with a wild child who just won't keep their diaper on. That's why I'm excited to share my favorite Pampers Cruisers 360, the ultimate baby-proof diaper for your little explorer. Pampers Cruisers 360 features a 360-degree stretchy waistband instead of the usual tabs. This unique design helps prevent your baby from removing their diaper, which means no more unexpected messes. And trust me, this is a game changer. One of the best parts, Pampers Cruisers 360 offers up to 100% leak-proof protection with a gap-free fit no matter how your baby moves. It's super easy to remove too. Just rip the sides, roll it up with a disposal tape on the back, and you're good to go. Try Pampers Cruisers 360 with the new Pampers Free and Gentle wipes for healthy baby skin. They're made from 100% plant-based cloth that grips the mess, with Free and Gentle mess meets its match. Add Pampers Cruisers 360 and Free and Gentle wipes to your cart or pick them up at your local grocery or big box store. Say goodbye to messes and hello to more fun with Pampers. Remember, for trusted protection, trust Pampers, the #1 pediatrician recommended brand. This week's episode of Dreams and Drive is brought to you by Smart Water. So this summer, I have a lot of goals, and getting out and staying active is #1. But if you want to be active, you got to stay hydrated, and that's where Smart Water comes in. I love how complimentary Smart Water is to my daily routine. It fits right in my baby bag, it's easy to put in the car bottle holder, and just looks good if I'm holding it in my hand or my daily walks with the kids. When it comes to living my life, there's a lot to overthink. What's for lunch? Who's getting the kids? Who do I need to reach out to for interviews? What's for dinner? But at least I don't have to overthink my water. And look, later today, I know I'm going to have to take that little one out for his daily ATV ride and walk around the block. With this pure, crisp taste and added electrolytes, I know that we'll all stay hydrated for our summer excursions, and the taste will be on point too. Smart Water provides a refreshing change of pace, a moment of clarity with a simple choice of hydrating. And at this stage in my life, that is super important. Life's full of choices. Smart Water is a simple one. Visit drinksmartwater.com to learn more. A real problem. Not underline the real part, right?
Bold italics underlined.
Not your problem. Not what you think the problem is. The real. We got to get back to that. Well, I think that's a big thing for all of us dream drivers. Right
now, because if you really think about it, you can say, oh yeah, I have a problem, but do other people have this problem? Is this a real problem? Right? Because if I see one more Black woman do a shea butter business, girl, how many shea butter businesses are there? Are you trying to tell me that when you were doing your research, you didn't find at least 10 other shea butter businesses?
You could find about 100. I love my brands that I support. I love y'all, but it's like, I'm with you. I don't need a new one right now, right?
Right.
Unless there's something like completely different about how you're doing it, I don't even know how you could reinvent it, but.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So why not go into, I don't know, cocoa butter? Or palm butter. I'm making this up. But you know what I mean? And so the problem is if you're going to go into an already saturated market, you have to do something to stand out. You have to do something different. You have to, niche down. So if you're going to do shea butter, maybe do shea butter chapstick. I don't know if that exists, but just do that and do that really well. Right. So that's my thing with people finding real problems. Like if you're saying, oh, well, I couldn't find any shea butter, girl, you're lying, because when you Google shea butter, there's 10 different brands that come up. So it's not that you didn't do research. You just decided to just jump on a bandwagon and solve a problem that people have already solved.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't even know why they're doing it too. Right. And
that's how I was making money. That's it.
I was going to ask you this. First, let me ask you this. What do you think you were realizing was your superpower strength at this moment? Like during this, you were starting the business, you were navigating. I guess at this time you were still doing like your 9 to 5, that stuff. What was Vivian becoming like? I'm that woman when it comes to this.
It's me. I am the secret sauce. I am the magic. Every single business that I've started, the success has been because of me, and it not necessarily because of actually, I guess you could say that. It's because of what I know. It's because of my expertise. It's because of my experiences. It's because of my je ne sais quoi.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And no one can duplicate that. So yeah, if I started a shea butter business, you better believe I'm a Vivian the heck out of it. Right. Because that's what's going to make it stand out. Right. I'm going to make you feel like this is the best shea butter you ever touched, because I put my personal stamp on it. And then, you're going to watch me in my personal life and see how awesome I am, but not awesome to the point where it feels unattainable. Right. Just unattainable awesome. Right. And then you're like, man, she's like that because of the shea butter.
But let me ask you this, Vivian, because, I'm going to play devil's advocate here a little bit. Mm-hmm. Not even devil's advocate. Maybe it's let's say someone's listening to this, right? And they're like, Vivian, I just don't have that personality. I'm thinking of my sister. Me and my sister argue about this all the time, right? Mm-hmm, She's like, Raina, you're an extrovert. Raina, like, how to, like, this is your natural, you were naturally like this, right? There are some people who might say, like, I just am not that person who can command rooms or who can figure out how to be the secret sauce, right? Although they're smart, although they're capable. What do you say to that person who has this dream but doesn't know how to step into who they are?
First of all, you don't got to shine like me, right? Mirrors shine, light shines, stars shine, sun shines, water shines. They all shine. Right? So you just got to basically be comfortable in the way you're shining, right? Picture frames, like everything shines differently, right? So it's just a matter of harnessing however you shine and turning it into magic. That's all it is. So I always say, you don't got to do it like me. You just got to do it like you. That's what makes it, again, I'm the magic. I am the secret sauce. Just like you are the magic. You are the secret sauce. You cannot be duplicated. You are the only person in this world with your own unique set of experiences and expertise and knowledge and feelings, all that. You are one of one. Nobody can duplicate that. So shine as you are. So if you're a mirror girl, shine. Sometimes people just need to walk up to a mirror in order to see themselves. Right?
That's true. And mirrors don't make noise, right? Mirrors are reflections of the person looking into them.
Exactly. So sometimes you just need to be a mirror, or sometimes you need to be a light, right? So there's people who are walking around in darkness. So by you being you, you're shining a light so that the people who are in the darkness can see, right? Or maybe you're the sun, you rise and you set. But during the day, you provide life and you provide energy, you provide all sorts of things. But it's light. It's all light. It's all shining. You just got to figure out what kind of shine you want to give.
And I think also there, too, you have to figure out who you are, too. So I think a lot of people are walking around and not really realizing and not being true to what their real desires are, right? Kind of like you said, you need to solve a real problem. You need to make sure that you're being your real self as well.
Girl, if it is exhausting being someone else. If you find yourself exhausted all the time and, how do people do? It's because you're not being your authentic self. Being your authentic self should be the easiest thing you can do. And the reason why you're struggling with it is because you're so afraid of what so-and-so will think and you won't fit in. And, I've got this little sign that says, why fit in when you could just stand out? You were born to stand out, right? So you got to be yourself, quirks and all. Right now I'm going through a depressive episode where, things are changing. I'm not where I want to be. So I'm quiet. I'm a little quiet. Right. But I'm not afraid to share that with my audience and know, hey, you know what? I'm in my feelings right now. So I'm just going to take a step back. But that's what makes me relatable. It makes me real, because then people are like, oh my gosh, I feel the same way. But I was feeling ashamed. I was just hiding. But there's there's nothing wrong with not being okay. It's okay to not be okay. And so you have to be your authentic. You have to be your authentic self. You have to.
So let's KinkyCurlyYaki. I mean, we could do a whole episode about how you started, how you launched it, but let's not do that, because I feel like people can go and figure out that story. I want to get to the meat of it, which I think is so interesting, because I want to say you guys were probably one of the first like natural hair texture brands that I heard about.
Yep.
2012, I was just about to exit college. So it was like, oh, I got to go into my corporate girl phase, but I also want to like have hair that looks like my hair, you know?
Yep.
You talked about this earlier, entering a saturated market. I feel like now the market's a bit more saturated, but back then it wasn't. So how did you approach starting and launching this new business, hair care, right? Also in Canada as well, because like, you know, it's, to me, that's probably not a major market, but I know there are Black women in Canada, right? So let me not say that. But let's just talk about like the thinking behind how you were going to attack it.
Well, first of all, I didn't mean to start a business. All I was doing was looking to solve my own problem.
A real problem that was.
A real problem. So I wanted hair that looked like my hair while I was servicing, brides in the Greater Toronto area. Right. And so when I went looking for hair that looked like my hair, and I have 4C textured hair, I couldn't find it. Or if I did, it was buried underneath the body wave, the Brazilian this and that, the Malaysian that. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, wow, there's no one's just selling just kinky textured hair. But I was doing so well at my wedding business. I was like, let me just file the idea in the back of my head, because I know how Black women are. And I mean, it's one thing to deal with brides. So, if I had to rank them, it'd be like brides and then Black women. Right. Just in terms of, really, I don't want to say demanding, but they have really high standards, right. As customers. Right. And especially from a Black owned business. Right. And so it wasn't until I went to a networking event. So let me rewind. So I was doing all my own research. So I was in Facebook groups. I was in hair care forums trying to solve my own problem. And I saw that other women had the same problem. And so in going into the Facebook groups and the forums, I was, they were sharing vendor information and everything. And so I decided to just, solve my own problem. I went to a bunch of different vendors, ordered a bunch of different hair, found one I finally liked, and then just started rocking it. But this was before YouTube and, was really what it is. And there was no TikTok. There was no Instagram. There was Facebook, and that was it. And hair and forums, like actual forums. And so I went to a networking event, like a wedding networking event. And a Black woman pulled me aside to ask me what my regimen was for getting my hair to look the way it did. And I was wearing like a kinky straight type hair. And who my hairdresser was. And I was like, girl, this is a weave. And, it's a huge honor when you can fool another Black woman. Right. And so for me, that was when the light bulb went off, because if she bought it, or if she thinks that this is my hair, I bought it, and I know there's dozens of other women online that would buy it too. Let me just see again. Let me jump off the cliff with no parachute and figure it out on the way down. Because I hadn't run an e-commerce business before. I was doing, my other business was a service. So here I am trying, I've decided to launch a product-based business and e-commerce. And that was a new thing. So this is back in 2012, 2013, when people were just getting comfortable with starting to put their credit cards online. Right. And so for me, it was just a matter of right place, right time, right product. Right. I had my ear to the ground, and because it was my own, I got high on my own supply. Right. So I was solving my own problem. I understood the market. I understood the lingo, and I was able to communicate to other women about the product that I had that solved this problem. And I always spoke to the problem and saying that the product I have is a solution. Right. You always have to position whatever it is that you're selling as the solution to someone's problem. Right. And so, being in these Facebook groups and being in these hair care forums, I was being Vivian. So people knew who I was, except I didn't tell anyone I was behind the brand.
Black culture feeds fashion, but fashion doesn't always feed Black creatives. I mean, only 7.3% of American fashion designers are Black. So McDonald's is pairing 5 rising Black designers with 5 fashion insiders for career-changing mentorships and the access they deserve. Because we can do better than 7.3. Together, we can change the face of fashion. Follow their journey on Instagram at WeAreGolden.
Statistics sourced from Zipia.com as of 2021.
So Dream Drivers, did you know that almost half of Black-led brands are discovered by word of mouth? That's why Walmart is inviting everyone to shout out Black-led products all summer. When you fall in love with a Black-led product, do not hold back. Tell your friends, your family, your coworkers, even strangers at the bus stop. Tell everybody, because one shout out leads to another. every time we recommend a Black-led brand, we're creating more demand for the product and other Black-led brands. There's always a chance to discover a new Black-led gem, and you can right now by exploring the Black and Unlimited collection at Walmart. And y'all know I'm always down to ride for some of my faves, and some of them have even been in this guest chair. From the Honey Pot and all that they're doing in the wellness space, to my girl Shantae Lundy at Black Girl Sunscreen, making sure we're staying protected in the sun. Also, I can't forget about my girl Melissa Butler at the Lip Bar, who is making sure us brown beauties have access to quality, dope beauty products. Go to walmart.com/Black and Unlimited to discover all the amazing Black-led products, creating a new world of choices at Walmart. Did you have I just want to make sure, was the brand existing, but you didn't say that you were the person at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I didn't say I was the person behind this brand, but it was doing well. Everyone was buying. They were, I would see these, conversations like, who owns it? Because whoever owns it really knows our hair and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, oh, that's great. But this was because this was before people were faces of their brands, right?
Yeah.
It was just, here's some hair to buy.
Do you like that people are the faces of the brands now?
Now?
I'm just wondering.
Depends.
Okay.
Like if they're, again, because I got high on my own supply, I was basically speaking to customers like, hey girl, I understand what it's like to have a failed twist out or when your wig's just not sitting right. Like I get that. Right. But if the person sounds inauthentic, so if they're not actually if they didn't solve their own problem and they're the face of the brand, it comes off as inauthentic. Right. Like it's like, girl, do you really know what you're talking? Is this really a problem for you? Like, is it like, if you think about even some of these hair care brands where they're like, oh, I got long hair. And it's like, girl, you didn't get long hair because of the products. You got it because of genetics.
Jeopardy music.
Right. But they're successful. Right. But anyways, that's a whole other episode. But, so because I was in these groups and because I was in Canada, it's sort of like I had like, I also made it a point to be inclusive to all Black women. So because I'm from Ghana and I live in Canada, I made sure to be like, I could talk to the Jamaican American and she understood what I was talking about. Right? It's like, oh, this girl must know what she's talking about. Like, how she know that? Right? And so then I wanted to make sure that I was as diverse as possible. So I always say, I ship wherever Black women are. So you could be in Croatia, you could be in Louisiana, you could be in Quebec City, you could be in Australia. I will ship it to you. Because for me, the goal of that company was not necessarily about hair. I could give two kicks about hair. It was really about giving Black women the confidence to show up as ourselves in wherever we are. And I know how that feels to show up somewhere and feel like you have to shrink yourself in order for you to not rock the boat, right? And hair is a part of that, right? So if I can provide you with some kinky straight, so Karen's not talking about you every time you change your hair, then let me help you do that.
At a point though, financially it started to make you're like, okay, this is also
lots of sense.
Like
it makes lots of sense.
And I think that's something too that we often ride this wave on, right? Of I want to do something because I have this passion or I'm doing it for a cause, but you also want to make sure it's making sense for you, right? And you were bootstrapping this.
Yep.
You didn't have any funders, especially in the beginning, right?
Yep. Now, if I was in the States, I probably would have.
But that's a whole other story. I wonder how would that have changed the trajectory of the business, right?
Absolutely.
And is that kind of what you're seeing now where you are now? Do you think, maybe the question is, did you ever get funding or have you always been I've always been bootstrapped. I got a loan. Okay.
And I want to say, 5 years into the business, that was my very first loan.
Okay.
And so I grew the business to $1 million of revenue a year without a single outside piece of money.
Do you think now, looking back, that it was good that you did that, or do you wish you didn't have to have? Okay.
No, I wouldn't change a single thing. All the mistakes, all the successes, everything that happened over the past 10 years, I wouldn't change a thing. If anything, I think what it's done is that it's made me the person that I am today. right? And also it's made me stronger and more authentic and more, I'm not an overnight success story. I'm not sure if you're aware, but my business was acquired late last year. And so, usually people, nowadays you hear people building businesses to exit, right? I didn't build my business to exit. I built it so that you could have some hair to go to work with or pick up the kids from school with or go to school with, right? And so that was not my intention. So, to have it acquired 10 years later, is I think like a true success story and a real
Not
and
think.
attainable.
It is. Don't even say think.
It is, but a real and attainable one. I didn't exit for, millions of dollars, but it was still a little something. Right. And so
do you still run day to day in any way, or is
No.
it completely okay?
It's they completely run their day to day. I'm simply the face when they need it. And so for me, and it's a big weight off my shoulders because I feel like I've grown it as far as I could. I've taken it as far as I could. And it was time to hand over the reins to someone who could grow it even bigger than I could have.
Did you even have a desire to grow bigger at this point too? Because I always feel like, do you ever feel like sometimes you're stuck to a dream that maybe you no longer have?
Well, I remember once I realized, oh my goodness, I did $1 million in revenue in 1 year and I didn't even put my full ass into it. What happens if I put my full ass into it? And once I started putting my full ass into it, it came with, because once going from 0 to 1 million is one thing. Going from a million to 10 million, basically it's like it's doing what you did at 0 to 1 million 10 times more. And that's a lot of pressure. And I didn't enjoy it. Going from 1 million to 6. Like I didn't enjoy that. And so I was like, okay, let me rewind. Let me reverse. Like, let me take a couple of steps back because I didn't enjoy the stress that came with being multi-million in a year. And so yeah, that's me being honest.
Why sell instead of close? I mean, I know, of course, you could make money, right? But that's also, you could have easily just said, this has come to an end, but you were allowing someone else to continue the legacy that you started.
That's a really good question. Why sell instead of close? Because I still felt like it had legs on it.
Okay.
Like even over the pandemic when we had nowhere to go, people were still buying. Right. And so to me, it was just more of, you know what? It's like it's like letting your child grow up. So it's almost like my child has now gone to post-secondary. They're in college now. Right. And so, why not?
Right.
Right. Like, why not? Like, why would I close when I've got plenty of customers and I built up all this goodwill and brand recognition over these past 10 years? Why not let it go on and see what happens? So it's just literally, it's like watching your child grow up and letting them go off to college and watching how they become as a person and hopefully
they don't embarrass you, right? Like
they don't embarrass you. Don't embarrass me.
Do not. All right. What I also love about, your story, as I'm a mom, so my son is 2 years old. So still he's at the terrible 2 stage. I'm like, you're not that cute anymore, right? But I just feel now that there's something that you don't understand until you become a mother. Like there's this level of, number one, just time management and just respect. Like, I don't feel you can truly respect your parents or your mother specifically until you become a parent and also trying to run a business and also trying to run a household and all that other stuff. So how do you feel like motherhood has informed who you are as a woman and also as an entrepreneur?
I always say that KinkyCurlyYaki wouldn't have obtained the success that it did had it not been for my son. Because children just put such a drive in you that is unmatched. Mornings that I did not want to get up to do anything. I had to because I had to feed my child.
That's what I say all the time. I'm like, wait, so I'm just going to let him start. He gotta, he can't do it himself. He can't feed himself, right?
He can't. I brought him into this world, right? So it's my job to take care of him as best that I can. Right. And I'm not saying it's got to be perfect. It's got to be 100 every single day, but as best as I can. And so with children, and I always say, besides motherhood, entrepreneurship is two of the hardest things I've ever done in my life.
And then doing them together.
It's something else. It takes a special kind of person. I'm crazy, I would say. You have to be a little crazy because it's risky. Yeah. Right.
My friends tell me, Raina, you live in a fantasy world. I'm like, but what other world could you live in, right? In order to get,
are we all living in a fantasy world of some sort?
You have to get this you have to be a little delusional, or like you have to have this belief that it's going to work out. It's going to work out in order to keep going. I think you said this in on an interview you did, like things grow through manure, or something about like things, you need shit to grow.
Shit. You got to turn shit into manure, because they use manure to fertilize plants in order for them to thrive, in order for them to grow. So in order for you to grow as a person, you got to see all the challenges, all the failures, all of that stuff as shit. And what you have to do is take that shit and turn it into manure. And manure has got to be, and you can't get to success without going through shit. And if you got to success without going through shit,
was it a real problem you saw?
No, it's coming. It'll come one way or the other.
Right. I was going to ask you this. You mentioned it earlier a little bit about how you would say like this is now like your quiet period in your life, where you mentioned maybe going through a depressive episode. If you don't mind talking about it, how were you able to identify like, okay, I'm feeling this and I'm going to accept this is what I'm feeling, and here's what I'll do because I'm feeling this way. So I think a lot of us will just keep going through it, right? Like we won't even put a name to the error. Like we won't even put a feeling to it. We'll just be like, I'm okay. And you can't yourself to anything, right?
Yeah, well, I always say in order to get through shit, you got to get through shit. Like you got to go through it.
Yeah.
Right. And so for me, it's just, I've gotten to the point in my life where I've been through enough of these where it's like, oh, I see it coming. I feel it coming on. So let me just chill out, and remind myself, okay, this is how you're feeling. Although you're going through this now, you always get out on the other side. You go through the trial and you come out gold. Or you go through the fire, and you come out gold each and every time. So right now it's a little hot. It's burning. Your skin's melting, your hair's on fire. But I know, okay, once this dies down, I'll be okay. Now, I may not be okay like the way I was okay before, but I'll be okay. I'll live. Right. And then I'm going to take the little steps that I need to take. I call everything big little steps. Mm-hmm. So all those things that you think don't matter, all those little steps, all those little things that you're doing, they do matter, because in order to get to the top of the mountain, you need to do it in small little steps. Because if you do it in leaps and bounds and, shortcuts, you're going to fall, you're going to tumble down that mountain as quickly as you got up there. So I do everything in small little steps. So that means, acknowledging how I feel, letting myself go through it, letting myself feel it, because if I don't, it's going to come back, and it's going to come back with a vengeance. So, it's really a matter of paying attention to yourself, paying attention to your triggers, paying attention. Like I know for me, my triggers are, changes. Like, I think this is for everybody, but like major changes. Like, when I closed down my office, that was a major trigger for me.
The Kinky Curly office, or
the KinkyCurlyYaki office? Yeah,
sorry, KinkyCurlyYaki.
Yeah, it's okay. When I shut down the office, because that was some place that I was going to for 5 years, every single day. Like I had the business in my house, but I took it out of my house because it was making me depressed, because I needed somewhere to go. I needed a separation between business and my home. And so for me, shutting down that office was triggering, because I knew now I'm going to be back where I was 5 years ago in my home, and needing to get out and needing to, but now I know what I need to do in order to not feel that way. Right. And so again, it's a matter of really having that self-awareness and paying attention to how you feel and what triggers you to feel that way and letting yourself feel that way if you should choose to feel so, right? Letting yourself feel that way, but also reminding yourself that you are going to come out on the other side and everything will be okay. Nothing is finite, right? What goes up must come down. What comes down must go up.
Right? Say that one again. Vivian, talk to me. I know we talked about some challenges, but for the dream driver listening, so all of our listeners are people who had this idea, want to get started. They probably want to build something or want to achieve some kind of goal in their own, professional life.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is the biggest challenge that you had to overcome in order to go to the next level?
Me. I am the problem. I am the drama.
But I thought you were also
That's the thing. I'm all things. Right? Because I found that I was my biggest obstacle. Mindset was a big obstacle. My mindset was a big obstacle, right?
I feel
and
that
so, we get in our own ways sometimes, right? We sabotage our success, right? By either, doing things that we know we shouldn't be doing, but we're doing it anyways. We're not trusting ourselves. We're not trusting our inner voice. We're not trusting our intuition. And that's my big problem, right? Because some of the biggest mistakes that I've made is because I didn't trust my intuition. My intuition said, nope, don't do it. But I was like, but logic. I used logic and reason. Oh, well, I got a reason. Oh, it's this. I got to talk my way out of something that in my gut I knew I shouldn't be doing. Right. So I would say I'm my biggest obstacle. So sometimes you just need to look in that mirror. Girl, are you the problem? Yeah. Sometimes
you can't. I say that all the time. Like even with this podcast, it's like, oh, I'm not putting out episodes on time. But what are you doing on Sunday night when the baby went to bed? Are you watching that show? Or are you using that extra hour to put up the episode and get it scheduled? So that is so true. We can always try to find an outside reason, but the reason is right within you. Right? And most of us know the answers.
Yep. You're
and
just
then on
looking
the flip side,
to blame somebody else.
Yeah, I want to ask you this too, because I feel like you are a successful businesswoman too. From a business perspective, what do you think is a big thing that a lot of like new entrepreneurs aren't doing right or not doing or get wrong in the beginning, and that can really mess up the trajectory of a business?
I think a lot of entrepreneurs, especially new business owners and new entrepreneurs, rely on motivation. They want to be motivated all the time. Girl, you are not going to be motivated all the time. Motivation is based on feeling. You're not going to feel 100 every single day. So they rely on this motivation thing to keep them going. And they think because they're not motivated, therefore they shouldn't be doing business, or maybe they shouldn't be doing this, or whatever the case may be. The key is consistency. So it's creating a set of systems around whatever it is that you're choosing to do. Like, let's use you for an example. So you should know, okay, after you put your baby to bed, you're going to dedicate 1 hour to doing something for the podcast. So and the system could be, okay, you put them to bed, you come out, you turn on the computer, you, to open up the document, you list this, you make sure I don't know, go to Canva, create a graphic, At least you dedicated 1 hour every Sunday to doing that. That's a system. And if you do that consistently, you can do it no matter how you feel.
Yep.
Because again, motivation is a feeling. It's going to be lacking in sometimes, and it's going to be sky high at others. But what is steady is the consistency. So I think a lot of entrepreneurs, new ones especially, although it's boring to create a routine, that's what is going to keep you going. So even when I was starting my business, I was going through depressive episodes. And what kept me going was the systems that I put in place that I could do no matter how I felt.
It's a relief when you know what you have to do, right? You're not thinking about it. You're like,
you're not thinking about it. It's like muscle memory.
It's kind of like having a trainer at the gym. Like, I don't like the gym because I don't like thinking of what I have to do. I'm like, what? Just someone tell me, right?
Yep.
So it's like sticking to your plan and just keep going at it, and eventually you're going to see results, right?
It's those little steps, right? Because if you keep doing that same thing every single Sunday, next thing you know, you've got 340 episodes.
That's basically what it's been for me, because I've had a full-time job throughout this. You know, there was a time where I was not, you know, I was doing freelancing and I wasn't working a full time, but there's ways to make things happen if you want to make it happen.
Absolutely.
You just got to figure out, right? You got to figure it out and what works best for you. So, and
then sometimes, you know what? And it's okay. Sometimes you're frozen, because I know there was, you know, I would say like a week or two ago, there was a time where I was just, I felt stuck. Like I couldn't move. I was frozen. And I was like, oh, it's okay. You know what? It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You're frozen. That's okay. But eventually you're going to thaw out. Eventually things are going to change. Something has to shift. Sometimes you got to allow yourself to, you know, go through that in order to get to the other side. So don't be afraid of that feeling as well. But just don't stay frozen.
Because sometimes when you just take a little, like when you just kind of like when you're in sleep paralysis, have you ever had that feeling where you're like, oh wait, I can't move. And then you like make that move and then you're like, oh wait, I'm free.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's how I feel every time I open my laptop, plug in my mic.
Yeah.
I might have had like a week before where I'm like, oh, I hate podcasting. I'm never doing it again. And now I'm like, I'm Oprah. I love this. This is where I feel like I am Raina. Right. So thank you for sharing that.
You're absolutely welcome, Raina.
Last question for you, Vivian, because I just want to know, what's exciting you now? Like, what are you really looking forward to? What's next? Is there something in this like new age of entrepreneurial stuff, what you're working on, they're like, wait, this is it, and I'm gonna ride that wave?
Honestly, girl, I'm tired.
Okay, but that's true too. You're riding the wave of rest, right?
Yes, I'm on the wave of rest. So right now, I've got dreams of, you know, living in Ghana for a short period.
You were just there, right?
I was just there, yeah. And so, you know, me and my son just picking up and going to Ghana for a little bit, just to have something different to do. A different environment, a different weather, a different people, different circumstances, right? Just to sort of reinvigorate my brain. You know, maybe lend my expertise to people I'd never thought of lending my expertise to, like just doing something different. Because, you know, being this single mother, independent entrepreneur, but I'm tired. I'm tired. So I want to go to Ghana and I want to rest. So that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about finding, you know, a place to live that has big windows and plants and a window in the shower and going to brunch on a Tuesday and just slowing down and doing something else and just resting.
And being unapologetic about it, right? You don't have to give a reason why. You don't have to say, oh, here's a rationale. You decided. And you will do. I love that.
I don't know how. I'm gonna make it happen. I'll figure. And that's the thing. With everything that I've ever done, I've never been like, this is exactly how I'm going to do it. This is the blueprint. Nope. I just figure it out as I go along. So same thing with this. I'm just going to figure it out as I go along. And if it doesn't work, okay, well, I can always come back home. Right? I can always come back to Canada, right? Or I can still go back and forth, right? And that's what I plan to do. Go back and forth, like snowbird. Like now I get snowbirds. I understand it.
What's a snowbird?
A snowbird is someone who basically leaves North America, like, you know, from New York or Toronto, cold, and they go to warm. And then when it gets warm again, they come back.
Oh, okay. I never heard that term before.
Yeah, there's a lot of them in Canada. So usually they go to Florida, Arizona, Africa, the Caribbean. Like they'll leave in like November and come back in April.
That makes sense. Listen, if you can do it, you have the flexibility. You know, he's still young. He's not like he could. Yeah. Where mama goes, you go, and we gonna live this life, son. Yeah. Okay.
That's what I'm doing. I'm manifesting that.
Well, thank you so much, Vivian, for sharing your dream driving journey today. Last question. I know I said last question before, but I forgot. This is the real last question. In order to be a dream driver, you have to have your keys to success, right? So, Vivian, can you tell us 3 things that you think every dream driver needs in their toolkit before they hit the road?
You need the right car, the right vehicle. So that means, making sure that you are right within yourself, right? So your mindset, think of your vehicle as your mindset. It has to be, ready. Like it has to be prepped, and gassed up, right? You can't just be putting any old gas. You can't be just putting any old gas in your mind. You got to put that premium in there. Right. So that's one thing. I would say the second thing would be a really good question. So the second essential thing a dream driver would need in their toolkit is directions, or no, a destination.
Yep.
You don't necessarily need directions, but you need a destination. So for me, I'm always about, what's my goal? How do I want to feel at the end? So like, for example, I just said I wanted to move to Ghana because I want to feel, I mean, it's a different kind of stress there, but I just want to feel a different kind of stress, right? Like I want to feel, at least let me be warm. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, if that's the goal, I know that's how I need to get there. So I'm not worried about how. So I can be on the highway. I'm focused on where I'm going. I'm not entirely sure exactly how to get there, but I know how to get there. I just don't know the name of the exit.
Yeah. And you know how to drive. That's all that matters. If you know how to drive, you can figure it out.
Right. I got gas. So I'm just going to figure it out. So that's a second thing. So I guess like a destination, or a goal, right? Or a dream, like a very specific one. So like, I mean, if you got to do it on a vision board, like really outline it so that it's a very clear idea in your head. Because if it's vague, if you're just like, oh, I'm going to New York, well, where in New York? You're going to Times Square? You're going to the Empire State Building? You're going to the Bronx? Like, where are you going? So have a very specific idea. And if you're going to the Bronx, okay, are you going to someone's house? Are you going to a restaurant? Are you going to a store? Like, get very specific. What are you wearing? Yeah. What are you doing? Like, what are you eating? What do you like, all that. Okay. So first thing you need is a mindset. Second thing you need is a goal, a very specific goal. And I think the third thing is just a good attitude, good vibes, right? Because I'm a big believer in what you put out there is what you will receive, right? So if you're always getting drivers flipping you off on your drive, then maybe it's not them. Maybe it's you. Right? Why do they continuously flip you off? Because you're driving in and out of the lines. You're not signaling. You're not this, you're not that. Right? So I would say mindset, a good goal, good dream, or a clear goal, and good vibes, good energy.
Listen,
no bad mind.
Yes, no bad mind on this car, right? Vivian, tell our dream drivers where they can find you online if they want to connect with you, if they want to know more about what you're up to, and follow along on the Vivian Kaye journey.
Well, I'm an absolute pleasure to follow on all the social media platforms, but mainly Instagram and TikTok. Yeah, I'm on the TikToks and the Instagrams.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can find me at It's Vivian Kaye, ITSVIVIAN KAYE. And you'll know it's me because I have a crown, boobs, and balloons.
I love it. Thank you so much, Vivian.
You're absolutely welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right, so that's the wrap for this episode of Dreams and Drive. I hope you enjoyed our guest's dream driving journey as well as listening to their keys to success. If you love this episode, you know what to do. Please make sure that you are following us. We are at Dreams and Drive across social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So make sure you're sharing this episode, posting it to your Instagram stories, texting it to a friend, sharing on LinkedIn, wherever you are or online. Just pay this forward and share this with somebody. We really appreciate it. And all the sharing that you do helps us grow our community. If you want to join our email newsletter, The Keys, and get weekly updates delivered to your inbox, just go to dreamsanddrive.com/join. That's dreamsanddrive.com/join. And lastly, if you know somebody who would be great for this show, or if you are someone who would be great for this show, please go to dreamsanddrive.com/pitch. I'm always accepting new guests. I'm always accepting new pitches. So I love to see those pitch requests coming in. Keep dreaming, keep driving, and we'll chat again in the next episode. Bye, guys.